어떤 다른 가서 집어 단 라운드 대다들 집어 총문지 집어 말이야 총문지도 소주가 집어 집어서 다 집어 총문 라운드 어때 다들 들으라도 뭐 하다 뭐 대단도야 되고 이나 집어 총문 라운드는 장주다 네 렌제 오드냐래 제이저래 근데 타버도야 되고 이나 안 집어 지기나 안에 좀 상비선배네 사바송 양수나야 사지고 도야 되고 이나 집어 집이나 안 샤주고 살다 오드로 야데 말에
So we are looking at what is called the persons of three capacities. So tonight, once again, Rinpoche is teaching Lama Tsongkhapa's Source of All My Good. So if everybody wants to turn to the Source of All My Good, it's on, I believe, page 38 in our prayer book. So if we just want to get started there, that way I don't have to interrupt when we get to the point where we start actually reading it. So it's the Source of All My Good. So that's going to be the prayer Rinpoche is explaining. So the Lamrim explains the teachings for beings of three capacities, or pathways for beings of three capacities. And we find the meaning of it in Atisha's Lamp for the Path to Enlightenment, where Atisha states, understand that there are persons of three capacities, small, medium, and great. I shall write clearly to identify their characteristics. I shall clearly define these three. And what this means is each capacity is a pathway which leads to a result. So when we look at the pathways for beings of small capacity, these are pathways which lead to the higher realms of cyclic existence. So teachings for beings of small capacity are those pathways which lead to the gods and the human realms within cyclic existence. So by engaging in the practice of going for refuge and knowing and practicing within karma and its results, one is able to have a rebirth into the higher realms. And these are the teachings shared in common with beings of small capacity, or pathways shared in common with beings of small capacity, and those lead to the higher realms. The next are the teachings for beings of medium capacity, or pathways shared in common with beings of medium capacity. And these are pathways which lead to complete liberation. So by generating the desire to definitely emerge, or renunciation, and practicing the three highest higher trainings, one is able to achieve the state of nirvana or liberation. And these are those medium pathways that are mentioned in the Lamrim. And then the pathways for beings of great capacity, or the teachings shared in common with beings of great capacity, are those pathways which lead to complete Buddhahood. And that practitioner practices bodhicitta, the mind that aspires to enlightenment, in order to achieve that goal of complete Buddhahood. So this is the meaning or summary of what those three capacities are referring to.
Well, Nabi Chukaloma Dubaina or Tasuna Dunugor, Tasuna Madibi, Nabi Chu Maris, Chivichungulan, Dingilan, Chivichibilan, Dudures, but Nazamling, Chukal Jason Dunos, Madabe. Then Naji, can you then you turn out on Maduna? And the laundry was just on to the rest. You don't know the children do it, but then the Bashir just on his laundry was just on the rest. But
listen, so the Buddha Dharma is summarized by these three capacities. There is not anything within Buddha Dharma that falls outside of the scope of these three capacities. So the lamp for the path to enlightenment is compared to the a great ocean. So which is, as a note, it explains these three capacities. So the lamp is compared to a great ocean because all of the water in the world eventually ends up in the ocean. So all the waters of the world end up into the ocean. And likewise, all of the teachings that the Buddha gave end up in the lamp for the path to enlightenment. So it's said that all of the teachings, excuse me, of the Kangjur, which are the pronouncements of Lord Buddha, and the Tanjur, which are the authentic Indian commentaries, can be found within the lamp for the path to enlightenment. So these are compared to the streams that run into the ocean. So we find in Lama Tsongkhapa's abbreviated stages of the path, where it says that as the following these stages can fill every desirable aim of all the 9 kinds of beings, they are a powerful wish-granting king of precious instruction. Because they collect the streams of thousands of excellent classics, they are indeed an ocean of illustrious correct explanation. So we see Lama Tsongkhapa comparing the lamp to an ocean that is fed by all of the teachings Lord Buddha gave and all of the authentic Indian commentaries. This is why we state that there are no teachings in the Buddha Dharma that cannot be found within these capacities. And in the Lama Tsongkhapa's Source of All My Good, we find the stages of the path for beings of great capacity presented in this stanza on page 40. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, everyone my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the wish for enlightenment, to take on myself the task of freeing them all. So these are the pathways for beings of great capacity.
Lari Chenmo saji ina Lari Chenmo ta chemudu. Ne Lari Chenmo lo te teta na chebu chembi lanji ba lo jang ba la son re do saji son. Teji jogo saji kona temba ta. Teji da jebi chuje. Saji ne shoba lo bu los saji son re do. Wa to ku yin chang ku su ten wu do.
Semche go kuna tambo.
Tejin jogo senje kuna temba dans.
Lesa tambo.
Sende jeda jebi su ni baje. Somba senje ni shoba lob su. Wadal teba chembo ga dunze marba.
So when we look at the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment by Lama Tsongkhapa, we can find that there are 3 different categories that are presented. First, showing that developing the spirit of enlightenment is the only entrance into the Mahayana, or the only door into the great vehicle. A second category is how one develops the spirit of enlightenment. And spirit of enlightenment here is a translation for bodhicitta. So the second category is how one actually develops bodhicitta. And then the third category is once one has developed the spirit of enlightenment, what then one does, what the trainings of the bodhisattva are once one has developed the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So these are the 3 categories that summarize the section on the training the mind, the stage of the path for beings of great capacity. Khensur Rinpoche.
Tambu tere lo ta te ane tambu teba chenpo la yugu na yubi gu ka ne yin she na se ta teba chenpo go nga su kamba ne yungba ina wate go te ane nga su kambi go la kumar be kambi go ne nrusa su na kamba na ulu le nukro teba chenpo go te shanchu sen tere es shanchu sen jul je su na teba chenpo na lu chu nukre shanchu sen ba re nukre es. So
this first category of showing that developing the spirit of enlightenment is the only entrance into the Mahayana is referring to the fact that in order to generate, in order for one to be a Mahayanist, the mind that aspires to enlightenment has to be generated. And once that happens, one is a bodhisattva. So that is the entrance into the Mahayana, the entrance to becoming a bodhisattva. Just like a door is the entrance to the house. One has to go through it in order to be inside of the house. Likewise, the mind that aspires to enlightenment has to be generated in order to enter into the great vehicle, or in order to enter into the Mahayana.
Tila jayu paru di shimbi tiba chenpo tang sangaji tiba chenpo ni tanda wata paru di shimbi tiba chenpo tang ane sangaji tiba chenpo ni song waras ni song je sa.
So when we look at the categories of the great vehicle, we can say that the first category is the perfection of wisdom vehicle, and then the second category is the secret tantric vehicle. So these are the two divisions of the Mahayana, or the great vehicle.
Wasa jupare shimbi tiba tang tiba sanga doji tiba ni kanki go shuba ina ya ane yugu de kanki go shuba ina tili shimbi tiba chenpo tiba chenpo yo maris jupare shimbi tiba tang tiba sanga doji tiba ni matu ane jen tiba chenpo yo maris tiba chenpo ni kanki guru yu jang yugu ni senji kona yin des
So there is the causal perfection vehicle and the resultant secret or tantric vehicle. And there isn't a vehicle that is outside of these two that is referred to as the great vehicle. So these two are the only thing that can be called a great vehicle. And the entrance into that great vehicle is the mind that aspires to enlightenment.
Tiba Chemoni, Gango Goshojan, Jogo Sanji Kona Yabahina, Pashin to be Jogo and Sanji Kona Re, Hagan Jogo there, and then Sanji Kona Yabahina, and then Hago on to what the Hagan Jogo is some Muyota. Hago initiation, what the Tantra Jogo in, from some Muyota. What did to Wadota? Hago on there, Hagan Jogo, Pachamun Sun.
So we then can generate a slight doubt, because if we state that the causal perfection vehicle and the resultant tantric vehicle are the only vehicles within the Mahayana, and if the entrance to the causal perfection vehicle is bodhicitta, and the entrance to the resultant secret tantric vehicle is bodhicitta, then this seems to contradict what many other texts say, where they state that the entrance into the resultant secret vehicle or tantric vehicle is an initiation. So we just have to look at this, and this is where a doubt could arise with us when we see this seeming contradiction.
So there's
a doubt when we say that many state that the entrance into the resultant tantric vehicle is an initiation, and here we find that showing that developing the spirit of enlightenment is the only entrance into the Mahayana. So here a doubt can arise, because if we say as a note, show the Mahayana, show what is Mahayana, you'd say perfection and resultant vehicle, and it says the only entrance to the Mahayana here is the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And other texts state that initiation is the entrance into the resultant perfection vehicle. So we have to look at this. Okay. So the way that we can differentiate this is by saying that the tantric vehicles, the entrance into tantrayana is an initiation, but an entrance into the tantric vehicle is the mind that aspires to enlightenment. The entrance into the perfection vehicle is the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So when we say the Mahayana vehicle, then we say that the resultant tantric vehicle's entrance is the mind that aspires to enlightenment. But the entrance into tantra itself is an initiation. So it's not entrance into Tantrayana, because yana means vehicle. So it's the entrance into Tantra is an initiation. The entrance into the tantric vehicle is the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So there's a slight difference in terminology here. It clarifies it.
And then all the Hagen you in Haji, Tibi Jugumai, Haji Tubi Jugula, Saji Kunaris, what the law waters.
So again, Nima Jetson is the one who stated this, that the entrance into the resultant tantric vehicle is the mind that aspires to enlightenment, but not the entrance into Tantra itself, because the entrance into Tantra is an initiation. So this is how Gen Nima explained the difference. So Gen Nima Jetsenla was a great scholar of all the texts. And my teacher is the one who's told this to me. Gen Nima, just as a note, is one of the great masters who was one of Rinpoche's teachers.
다 대바 재문이 광고시 요구 세제 권한 있어 러서도 요구 세제 권한 있으나 안 오는 하고 조금 많이 받아서나 오는 하고 조금 송사 모여 들어.
맞아.
온 하고 조금 하지 TV 조금 많이. 하지 TV 조금 세제 권한 있어.
맞아. So then when we study all of these different things and we hear that the entrance to Tantra is an initiation, but then when we see showing that developing the spirit of enlightenment is the only entrance into the Mahayana, it seems to contradict itself. So the way that we clarify this and clarify the wording is saying that, just as stated before, that the entrance into the tantric vehicle itself is mind that aspires to enlightenment, but the entrance into Tantra is an initiation. So this is the clarifier.
Saint Jules Jesona, and the Tana Tondo and the Shanchu Sambachan was Marbe, and the Tondo Rabonda, the Suk Julie, Shanchu Sambajesona, Ramut Shanchu Sambares, Teba Chambres, Teba Chambres, so and the Shanchu Saint Jules Majana, Moeshe the Dujet and Haga Tuba Kari, Tuba Jenda Kari by Inaya, Teba Chambres to Mares.
So even if one has generated this mind that aspires to enlightenment, which is just wishing to become a Buddha for the sake of all sentient beings, once this is developed, then if it develops within the continuum of an animal even, or a rabbit, for instance, at that point, that being has entered the Mahayana and it becomes a bodhisattva at that time. But even if one spends many years developing higher states of consciousness and clairvoyance states and so forth, one does not enter the Mahayana without that mind that aspires to enlightenment, because that's the only entrance into it. So once one has that bodhicitta, generates within his or her continuum the mind that aspires to enlightenment, at that point he or she is a Mahayanist, he or she is a bodhisattva. But all of these other high practices of clairvoyance and so forth will not be entrances to the Mahayana because there is only one.
And je kaya ma je jen de je da me ba ina ya and teba chamber in the grace teba chamber jo ba ila sa shanju sa ba cha no grace ta da na ta na shanju sa da na ta na and tuni tu ba la su bi yue de ji yue jang and ne tu la su bi sa tong xin shanju sa da not as una nāngā shī tā dzūchū tōnyi tūpa shēru kāzi yōpa yinā yā tīmēng sāla sānu gārēs, tīmēng pa chānu gārēs, tā.
So I just want to read up to where we are. So page 16 in the English, showing that developing the spirit of enlightenment is the only entry. You know what? It's in the second volume of the Lamrim Chenmo. So that's where you would find it. It's not in the first volume. So we're in different volumes on Sunday and first Wednesday. So it says, showing that developing the spirit of enlightenment is the only entrance to the Mahayana. Question, given that you enter the Mahayana in the above-mentioned manner, what is this? Is the entrance? Reply, the conqueror taught that there are no Mahayana vehicles other than the perfection vehicle and tantric vehicle. Whichever of these two you enter, the only entrance is the spirit of enlightenment. Once you have generated the spirit in your mind, you are recognized as a Mahayana practitioner, even though you may not have generated any other good quality. When you separate from the spirit, no matter what other good qualities you may have, such as the knowledge of emptiness, etc., you lapse from the Mahayana, falling to the level of Shravaka and the like. The point is taught in many Mahayana scriptures and is also proved by reason. The initial entrance into the Mahayana is determined by the development of the spirit alone. A subsequent departure from the Mahayana is determined by its loss alone. Hence, by being a Mahayana practitioner or not is contingent upon the existence or non-existence of the spirit. You become a conqueror's child immediately after developing the spirit of enlightenment. Rinpoche, chu kaba kasong, the
Tijele nyaba yinbasa, tati tikaturo ta.
the shunju long.
Shunju long tanda le mazu go le.
Okay, so we just read, we're reading right to there. So this goes through the points that.
Timeng satongse, what you would read.
Okay. So here, what this says is, when you separate from the spirit, no matter what other good qualities you may have. So even if, such as knowledge of emptiness, you lapse from the Mahayana, falling to the level of a Shravaka and the like. So once you separate from the mind that aspires to enlightenment, separate from bodhicitta, then you fall to the Hinayana. So even if you were a Mahayanist, because you've developed this bodhicitta, if you lose the bodhicitta, you're no longer a Mahayanist, you're now a Hinayanist, a Shravaka. It says the level of Shravaka and the like. So these are, Shravaka is a hearer, that's a Sanskrit, and the hearers and solitary realizers are the Hinayana vehicle. So it's saying you fall, and the like, fall to the Hinayana. Diksan Rinpoche.
O devotil the segundo, that Tijele Shaju Sen Yansuna, Tijele Yabares, Tijele Domobul Son.
So once you lose mind that aspires to enlightenment, you lose your great vehicle, you lose the Mahayana.
Shaju Sanyana Tijele Nyaba Himba, Tiba Chemi Nudu Tomale Son Yuares, Tiba Chemi Dumom Son Yuares, Nazipijan Toures, down the root.
So it says this point is taught in many Mahayana scriptures, also proved by reasoning. So there are many texts that state this, and also if you use correct signs, you can prove this is a fact as well. So if you use signs and reasoning, you can prove this as well.
So
the fact that you lose your status as a Mahayanist, if you lose your bodhicitta, is found in many great vehicle texts.
So if
we can say it also is proved by reasoning, by using correct signs. So when we say, well, why is it that one loses his or her status as a Mahayanist if the bodhicitta is lost? And we would say, because the only entrance into the Mahayana is bodhicitta. So therefore, if the bodhicitta isn't there, one isn't in the Mahayana. So therefore, one isn't a Mahayanist if the bodhicitta has been lost.
Jeba Zanji Tijen Jolas, Jeba Zanji Jolas, Shetijen, Tumba, Tetan Sentatan Treva Shanju Sentatan Treva Sanji, and then Tijen Yapa is Jagures, Jubi Na. Tiba Chenmo and Saint Yumeji, Jesu, Dundu Shetos, Tiba Chenmo second, Shanju Saint Yuna Tiba Chemore, Shanju Saint Vena, Tiba Chemo Maris Laures, Jesu Dundu Shetos.
So if there is the mind that aspires to enlightenment, then there is the Mahayana. The entrance into the Mahayana is determined by the development of the spirit alone. If one loses it, then one loses the Mahayana. So subsequent departure from the Mahayana is determined by its loss alone.
And the Shanju San Yu de Kong Kabarzana, and the Shanju Shunju Luzundus, Tadayan Shunju Les, Shunju Le Shanju Sanji Juna Kejiki, Ku Juna Dabinyata Na, Deshina Seshi Joyashi, She Dance, Shanju Sanji Juna Keji, Shanju Sande, Jul Jeba Ina, Keji Teletene, Ku Juna Dabinyata, Rabuntan, Lutan, what the Suk. Shanju Saint Jesuna, and the Kuzu Tiba Chemashan is Kuzuna Dambi Nyata now, Kuzuna Dambi Nyata now, Deshinaji, Seji, Joyashi, and the Deshinaji, Shanju Saint Jul Jesuna Rabuntan, and the Luyan Chile, and the Tiba Chemarin is. Deshinaji says, and the Shanju Saint Law. Deshina say, Tangaso, Pama Pugut Sela Marapo. I know what the Shanju Samba Swanjik say, Swanjik Bonam Marbe. Deshina says, she dance. What about Tiju and Kalejun? Ancient Malun.
Hence, being a Mahayana practitioner is not contingent upon the existence or non-existence of the spirit. You become a conqueror's child immediately after generating the spirit. And then it says, as Shantideva is engaging in the Bodhisattva deed, says, the moment helpless beings bound in the prison of cyclic existence develop the spirit of enlightenment, they are called children of the Sukhatas. So the moment the mind that aspires to enlightenment is generated in a being's continuum, at that point he or she immediately becomes a bodhisattva. So if one is a rabbit, this mind that aspires to enlightenment, then he or she immediately becomes a bodhisattva. If one is a naga, then at this moment of arisal or of realization, that naga then becomes a bodhisattva. So this children of the Sukhatas is a name that is used for bodhisattvas. So children of the Sukata is referring to the Buddha, so becoming a child of the Buddha. So a bodhisattva is a child of the Buddha, and so child of the Sukata is referring to a bodhisattva. So that's what it means here. As soon as a being develops this spirit of enlightenment, the mind that aspires to enlightenment, or bodhicitta, at that point he or she is called a bodhisattva, a child of the Buddha. And then more of the quote from Engaging in the Bodhisattva Deeds by Shantideva.
And Sanji is Jebaris. Tibachibiri. Sanji says Utajudo. And the Sanji say Jesse and Jesse. Says Utajudo, she sent Jematatu, Jesse's draw soon lasa. Sanju sent Julie Jematatu, Jesse Chana, Jesse and Sanju Samba Tunjide. Jesse in the Sanju Samba Imicho, Sanju Samba in the Jesse Imicho, Tunjija Tunjide.
It's somebody comes to the Bodhisattva page chaser. Jesse. Jelse, okay. So here it goes on to say, today I've been born in the Buddha's family. I have become a child of the Buddhas. So this is again from Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. It says, "Today I have developed the mind that aspires to enlightenment." So as a result of generating bodhicitta, or the mind that aspires to enlightenment, I have now in part of the lineage of the Mahayana, the lineage of the great vehicle. I'm now a child of the Buddha. I'm a bodhisattva. So it's showing how once this is generated, one becomes of the lineage of the Mahayana, the lineage of the Buddhas.
Yeah, okay.
And it says, thus it says that once you have generated the spirit, you are called a bodhisattva. Actually in the Tibetan, I think that it says you become a conqueror's child again, it says you become a conqueror's child, and then Rinpoche explained that conqueror's child means bodhisattva. So they wrote in the English just bodhisattva, but in the Tibetan it's more encoded. So Rinpoche explained what the encoded part meant, but it's kind of spelled out here already. So Geshe is referring to a bodhisattva, Gel being the conqueror and Se being the child. So that refers to, and then it says, moreover, the life of Maitreya speaks of persons being bodhisattvas if they have the spirit, even though they have not trained in the bodhisattva's deeds.
And the Shanju sent Perset the Kandaja, you sent the Kandaja was Tibeina, and the Shanju sent Julie, Shanju sent with the one Matu Konge, Shanju sent Juro, what the Mersen, Shanju sent J, and the Shanju sent with the one Matuna, and the Shanju sent the Mercedes. Shanju sent with the Matuzasuna, sent J, Jusen is, Jusen. What the lady was that there?
So now we've arrived at the need for the explanation of the two different kinds of bodhicitta. So when you divide bodhicitta, the mind that aspires to enlightenment, we divide it into two categories: aspiring bodhicitta and engaged bodhicitta. Once one generates bodhicitta, or the mind that aspires to enlightenment, within his or her continuum, once that generation takes place, at that moment it's called aspiring bodhicitta. Then if there is a vow is taken after the generation of the bodhicitta, then it is called engaged bodhicitta. So engaged bodhicitta refers to bodhicitta that is coupled with the vow, and aspiring bodhicitta is the initial realization of that bodhicitta without the bodhisattva vow present. Diksan.
What that gender to Kasa, Uncle Joseph Shaju, the water so David, Tejela, Joguji, Zuiji, Nari, Tejan Senjik Seni, Tejan Senjila Edam Herset and Joseni, Herset and Joseni, Tam Herset or the Dujipalan Chaju and Daboris, Dujipalan. Dujipalan, the Chaba Inaya, and the Say Dangula Subjenja Casation Yogres, Machana, and know what the Josen Payma, Dujipalan. Machabayina and the Josen Damachi. Dujipala Chanaya said Angula Subi, Jajata saying, Person, but a old metal later.
So,
Dujipalans Garza.
Diamond.
Diamond. Dani Chaju, Person, Dani Chaju, the Pajab, the example. Josen, the Dana Machaba, the Pajab.
So then, an example then is given where it is compared to diamonds. It says, although a precious diamond breaks, it's still, even if a diamond is broken, for instance, it still outshines all other ornaments. Like it still is more precious than gold and silver and so forth. It doesn't lose that preciousness. It's still considered precious because it's a diamond. And it says it compares to the generation of that to a special diamond but it says, although there is a lack of application, and then it says it still outshines all the other golden ornaments, which are the good qualities of the lesser practitioners. Then Musen dan Jusen, the Jawa Gare, the Selpuyumar, the Doji Palang Chana.
이거 저 대자로와 리지보다 더 빠나스 리지보다 더 매선 담을래들 리지보다 더네 빠나 도저를 못지 차장스 도저 발랑 차바이나야 차장 시지진 처벌견도 파바 타지 세지 세지네신스 도저 발랑 자주 되게 세지gen 그거 세지는 그래서 네 도저 발랑 매야 놓고 말했어 도저 발랑 말했어 라고 말했어 도저 발랑 레스 라고 그랬어 매야 모두 신스 요아 타지 나바도 고스 도저 발랑 자주 있나야 세기gen 타지 세지는 그래 그 도저 발랑 공치베 이제로다 는 가지고 사도 컴바도 어떤 뭐 자고 이제로다 요아 타지 나바도 고스 이게 돼 말이야.
So, in this, it says from the life of Maitreya. This is what we're about to read is from the life of Maitreya, and it says, "O child of good lineage, although a precious diamond breaks, it still outshines all special ornaments of gold." So here, this is referring to aspiring bodhicitta. Okay, now I'm clear. So this part here is referring to aspiring bodhicitta. And it says, "O child of good lineage, although a precious diamond breaks, it still outshines all special ornaments of gold. It does not lose its name precious diamond, and it still removes all poverty." So if you have a diamond, one can very easily then get food and get things to drink and so forth with that diamond. So that's what is meant by that. Dene?
다 리지부 대진도 된다도 시험 말বে 리지부 대진도 안에 타지 쳔바 생집이 도저르면 내대다 대양스 타지 쳔바 생집이 도저르면 내대다 대 메신로 메신 라서 안에 메신도 와데 안에 생집이 도저르면 내대다 대양송도 메신 거 장주생 도되어 말어 마투바 이상 내전 샤주세 마투 나야스 내전 대야 니투던 사지지 연대 타지 세주는 바레스 원도 코어데 네 메세도데 주세 마투바 이나 메세데게 아니 티메게 된거 세주는 거레스 라서 세지젠타지 세주는 세주는 샤주세베 메야모돌라스 네, 면세도 여기들 샤주세마 말이라고 말해. 샤주세마 인스라고 그래서 샤주세마 메야면도시. 맞아. 그요와 다지 나바도고스. 그요와 네, 상사라고 요와 네, 동아지동아다. 네, 주의동아라서 동아가 안에 도와도 좀 그래서 요와 다지 나바도고스.
So O child of good lineage, similarly, those who have developed the precious diamond, which is the spirit of enlightenment and the aspiration to omniscience, although they lack its application, still outshine all the golden ornaments, which are the good qualities of the Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas. They do not lose the name Bodhisattva, and they still remove all the poverty of cyclic existence. So here, it's stating that one is a bodhisattva if he or she has generated the mind that aspires to enlightenment at that level of aspiring bodhicitta, even though it says they lack its application, even though it is an engaged bodhicitta, the person with aspiring bodhicitta is still a bodhisattva, and those qualities that he or she has still outshine all of the qualities of the hearers and solitary realizers. And it says that they remove all the poverty of cyclic existence, all of the suffering of cyclic existence, all of the suffering of change of cyclic existence. All of these are the poverties. A diamond can help with regular poverty and help you get food and drinks and so forth. The bodhisattva is able to remove the poverty, which is the suffering of the world, and that aspiring bodhicitta that he or she has makes them outshine all of the other practitioners who don't have it or have lesser realizations. Diksang Rinpoche. So this is all about aspiring bodhicitta.
And what the Mensan goes to Shanju Sembi don't what to do Maro. Shanju Sembi Shubal Loyo Mares, Shubal Malo Jang, and then Mensan de Yunas, Mensan de Yuna, Shanju Semba Somba dance, Shanju Mensan Juliana, the Shanju Semba Ila Ures, and the Shanju Semba Insun Yoris, Shanju Semba Somba dance. What about the Jirid?
So although they lack its application, although they do not have the bodhisattva vow, they still outshine all the ornaments which are good qualities of the Shravaka and Pratyeka Buddha. They do not lose the name of bodhisattva, so they are bodhisattvas if they have this aspiring bodhicitta. And then we get into a quote from Nagarjuna's Precious Garland, the Ratnavali.
What that Ludu what to Dani done the Jiden de Lamen Shanju to the Dani done the Jiden de Lamen Shanju Sanju Kumutuba and Debaina, Lamen Shanju to the Na, Ti Zawa do the Ti Zawa Shanju Sen, Rawanja Bata, Ti Zawa, and the Shanju sent the Rijabara, temperature res, Rawanja Bata den Tang, She dance, Rawanja Bata den dance. And Dani done the Jiden de Lamen Shanju to the Sanju Kumutuba Debaina, Ti Zawa Shanju sent the Tembuku res, what is one.
Also, the protector Nagarjuna in his Precious Garland, the Ratnavali, says, if you in the world wish to obtain unexcelled enlightenment, its root is the spirit of enlightenment, firm as the king of the mountains. So, if you wish to achieve complete Buddhahood, the root of this is the mind that aspires to enlightenment, firm as firm as king of the mountains. So we find this Uma, Madhyamaka. So we find this in the middle way teachings of Panchen Sonangrappa and Jetsumba and so forth. And Rimba and Lama Tsongkhapa's Madhyamaka middle way teachings.
Chua, the down, Shinto Saba, the down, Timber Kawa down, and Sama Yujan, Chi Sawa, Sama Yuja, Chi Sawa, Sentient Dijanala, then to Moruas,
this shit.
And then what they, and the Sama Jinko, what they, and then Shanju Samba Chenmo, Zunga, Shanju Samba Chenmo, Zunga, Jinko Shinto. Shinto, Chachawa, Tin Saba, Timber Kawa, and Sama Yuja Chisawa to Sukalo, Siji Dijin Sultan and Jigamares,
Lessa,
Ten Romares, Moroma,
Lessa.
Then Lana de Chuji, Shinto Kumba Shilamentis, Shana Sanji was Shana Dujil Tota, Shanju. Sanga to Sukalo and Kaza Pita to Songwarmado, Mamul Son and Jimaris, what is that? She took no Bashilam,
Lessa.
What about teaching the Kaliga?
They can't say, they ain't true, you're right.
Yeah.
The So here we have Tantra bestowing the initiation of Vajrapani. It says, "Oh, great Bodhisattva." I've always wanted this explained, actually, so this is going to be interesting. "Oh, great Bodhisattva Manjushri, this tantric mandala is exceedingly secret, unfathomable, very profound and vast. It is unsuitable to teach it to sinful beings. Vajrapani, you say this mandala is very rare. Since I have not heard about it, to whom should it be explained?" So here it's showing who is appropriate to enter the secret mandala. Nga dit triwa yure, gangisina the shanchu semba mayemba, dene the guang dro chogomare.
That kade shanchu seme ba what tiba chimbul tiba menga tusule what the ten and dig marasung de jero. Kuma sila pente sa.
Dene
hum matu nas and sanga the anul komena hum matu na de sentient chedabashila shibashas chedabashila shibashas and what the twaim kushin rendoa
Lasa
lana duje pebas shana duje what the
lapsa
sanga shesan de gugure da lana duje peba jambe and shana duje de jambe to what bare and shana duje jambe on la jagwa kanza shaju ji sen gomba ta gomba la shuba ta kangi se da ge shaju ji sen toba choba ti sa shaju sen jul shaju sen jul jesa do na and sanga godi sanga ne su ngotel son wores jambe shaju sen bi jiba sanga ji goshe bi shaju sen ba tada and shaju sen ba tada eshi chemo on gu zonga ji jingu do juba shais ta gade ha ge jingu do on gu sa do de shaju sen jul je ta ken shaju sen jul ma ji ba ina shaju sen go ye ken nyang le ye ken wo de ji gu go ji ro ta ha on gu sa
Lasa
wo de ju gu son de sa ma ba mo su do de shaju sen gu son do.
So then it says Vajrapani replied. So here now we're going to have it's a question and an answer going back and forth between Vajrapani and Manjushri. Vajrapani replied, "O Manjushri, once those who have entered meditation on the spirit of enlightenment have attained it, Manjushri, these bodhisattvas who practice the bodhisattva's deeds, the door to Tantra, should enter into the tantric mandala of the great sublime wisdom initiation. However, those who have not fully attained the spirit of enlightenment should not enter it." So we're going to take a short break.
Yeah. Because you never tell you. Ta on goes at the lower the Shantu Saint Jules man on Kuchu Maris Suma Tabadua. In the Shantu Saint Jules and the Shantu Saint Koya, Teva Chimble Gabu against Ule, and then want could go zero, Marba. And the on should pay European. Then one should be paying all my Jubin and then get what the all my Jubin and then Nasuna Michibina, on should pay the water. On should pay the other general Jim, Jubichi Tibachim Linde, Gubachim Mandua.
That's so. So here it would seem that one shouldn't go to an initiation if he or she hasn't generated this mind that aspires to enlightenment. But if one has a liking for the great vehicle, and specifically the tantric vehicle, this will leave predispositions or imprints so that if one is in the lower realms, one will be quickly removed from them and go to the higher realms and then be connected to the great vehicle and be able to practice it quickly. So if we say, is it more harm or more benefit by going to the initiation because of this missing bodhicitta, we would say there is a benefit because we can then connect later to the tantric vehicle in the future.
我当我过下搞了上就三百米七八对嘛了，我这个铁把钱不了搞不赢，说我过下对我过比我图比偏远这个，那么我把那我的上就不见了。
So we can't say that those that you must have this mind that aspires to enlightenment in order to attend an initiation, because there are those who have an affinity for this great vehicle practice, and it will then in the future ripen into one's ability to actually practice these teachings. It will create this connection in one's future lives to be able to actually practice these things.
So now
we're arriving at the section on what the benefits of the mind that aspires to enlightenment are. The Rinpoche Dead School, the Kanga Loma song. So then it says, Manjushri, these bodhisattvas, I just have to finish reading up to where we are. Manjushri, these bodhisattvas who practice the bodhisattva deeds, the door to the Tantra, should enter into the tantric mandala of the great sublime wisdom initiation. However, those who have not fully attained the spirit of enlightenment should not enter it. They should not even enter and see the mandala. Moreover, do not teach them gestures and mantras.
So now we're arriving now we're going to go through the Bechagare. Okay, so this is this text is Panchen Lama's I believe Swift Path text, and it shows these benefits of the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So the first benefit is it shows that you become a child of the conqueror. So by generating the mind that aspires to enlightenment, you become a son or daughter of the conqueror. The next is that if you develop the mind that aspires to enlightenment, your good qualities automatically outshine those of the hearers and solitary realizers. So this is point number 2. Once you develop the mind that aspires to enlightenment, you make the best offerings, or the finest offerings. Okay. So fourth is that you will be able to quickly obtain the 2 collections, the collection of exalted wisdom and the collection of merit. Next, you'll actually be able to purify your misdeeds. So this is number 5. One can quickly purify one's misdeeds. And just going back to number 4, this collection of exalted wisdom and merit is what are necessary. These 2 combined are necessary to becoming a Buddha. So that was going back to number
5 rather, that we quickly achieve the collections, 2 collections.
다 샤주 센줄이 여바이나 어때 소수 상바 가르 여바이나 강가 두용으로스 제 상반 두바사 소수 상바를 가르 너바 가르 여바이나 강가 두용으로스
The Drupa Dunba. So number 7 is that one's aims will be easily realized or achieved. One's purposes or aims will be easily achieved.
And
then number 8 is if you have the mind that aspires to enlightenment, you will not be harmed or have obstacles. You'll be able to quickly realize the grounds and paths, the 10 grounds and the 5 paths.
Happiness.
Okay, one becomes almost like a field of joy for all sentient beings. I believe that's it. It becomes a field of happiness for all sentient beings. I can look this up. Not right now, but. So this is an abbreviation of all the benefits of the mind that aspires to enlightenment. This we can find in Pabunka Rinpoche's Liberation in the Palm of Your Hand. That's why I said I can find it. I do. It's in that text, in the big one.
And then Anga Juni, Joson, Junga, Judu, what the Sajik parent Mamuduata, Nando Kuzanga Dena, Shugu Sonju Susungro, Shugu Sonju Susungi, Anga Juni J, Joson, Junga, Judu.
Okay, so when we look at the lamp for the path to enlightenment, we can find that the excellent qualities of the mind that aspires to enlightenment are presented in Shaluka Drup, 6 stanzas. So it begins at number 12. The qualities of developing such an aspiration are fully explained by Maitreya in the Ray of Trunk Sutra. Having learned about the infinite benefits of the intention to gain full enlightenment by reading this sutra or listening to a teacher, arouse it repeatedly to make it steadfast. The sutra requested by Viradatta fully explains the merit therein. At this point in summary, I will cite just 3 verses. If it possessed physical form, the merit of the altruistic intention would completely fill the whole of space and exceed even that. If someone were to fill with jewels as many Buddha fields as there are grains of sand in the Ganges to offer to the protector of the world, this would be surpassed by the gift of folding one's hands and inclining one's mind towards enlightenment, for such is limitless. So these are stanzas that show the excellent qualities of developing the mind that aspires to enlightenment. Diksun Rinpoche.
What that then my Tambu Juni de la water that maybe sent a GB then going by. Then the Dombuko by Induli Shambira to chase. That maybe sent a GB there's not Sajik Pema. GB then the Dombuko Indule, Josh Amungo Sondos is that. GB then going by. yode kanyi batene dombu köbin dole jawa shamangam bisondos shambi rat shes what the kaleka lun sendi.
So we'll begin by looking at stanza number 12 in Geshe Lharampa, The Path to Enlightenment. The qualities of developing such an aspiration are fully explained by Maitreya in the Array of Trunks Sutra. So here, this is a text by Lord Maitreya, where he explains the excellent qualities of the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So such an aspiration is referring to bodhicitta. So the qualities, the benefits or qualities of developing bodhicitta are fully explained by Maitreya in this text.
What the song be Tinduluba Lama Lenetes, what the Domuka to Susu Lugi Nandra, and the Susu Maguna Lama Yen, and the what the Tondakares Lama Yen, Duluba Lama Yente, Zubi Shanchu Sensi, then Tameba, Naba Shiba Shilas, Shanchu Sen Puntata Mamma de Shiba Shigures. Susu dulu shegu nan dulu susu machina susu gena matrine and what the shaju sen pen gashiba jigures namba shiba jelas tene jusen dos ta shaju sen pen de abshiba ina tata ya to ya sen jibashas and shaju sen gombal gabu yoro shaju sen gombal gabu yana ya to shaju sen gongures.
Having learned about the infinite benefits of the intention to gain full enlightenment by reading this sutra or listening to a teacher, arouse and repeatedly make it steadfast. So after you have learned of these great benefits, you will develop an affinity for getting this mind that aspires to enlightenment or realizing it. And you would get this affinity for the mind that aspires to enlightenment by reading a sutra or having an explanation of those benefits given to you by a teacher. So once you have this understanding, it says repeatedly, arouse it repeatedly, bring these infinite benefits to your mind repeatedly again and again in order to solidify this mind that aspires to enlightenment, this intention, and then eventually the actual mind that aspires to enlightenment. The intention to achieve it, and then eventually the actual achievement.
What that Domuka Bindu Mazit and the Beijing Jubindu Legion Yoris, Beijing J, Beijing Jubindu Tale, Tisono Rotembas, Beijing Jubindu Tale, Tisono Rajab. Quand c'est que sont dans le monde, j'ai tenu 400 ça ou de wol mayongre c'est ça.
So the sutra requested by Viradatta fully explains the merit therein. At this point, in summary, I will cite these 3 verses. So here, the 3 verses below are going to kind of summarize the great merit that is achieved by this mind that aspires to enlightenment. So then now it'll say, if it possessed physical form, the merit of the altruistic intention would completely fill the whole of space and exceed even that. So it's saying the mind that aspires to enlightenment isn't form, but if it were form, then it would fill all of space and even more. So it would exceed the space. It would be bigger than space.
ane kangi tamaja jete shanchu dana sandu na choba dana cheba ba tala tan ma che sos wada tsi jete ge danda tere doda kangi kanga riba yo mara kanga riba wada shema yoro shema kangi shemi chata nyabe ne ane sanji shinga yoro kangi shemi chane sanji shina ma kangi rejenta kunkante majiki ane kangi shimi chanda nyabe ane sanji shinga tuzu kangalo se tang ngu tang wa tende kane sanji pepa ina sodan cheboro wa sodan chebore de ane shanju sen gomba ina sodan tele labare tal ma chebare kangi tamu je de shanju tene sen dunda choban den chebaba tala tal ma cheboro what is it?
If someone were to fill with jewels as many Buddha fields as there are grains of sand in the Ganges to offer to the protector of the world, this would be surpassed by the gift of folding one's hands and inclining one's mind to enlightenment, for such is limitless. If someone were to fill all the Buddha fields with jewels, and as many jewels as there are grains of sand in the Ganges, this wouldn't be as much merit as just folding one's hands and generating bodhicitta. So these are some of the benefits that are presented in the lamp for the path to enlightenment. So Rinpoche said, it seems maybe it's a little difficult. Everyone's a little tired, so maybe we'll end here.
Yeah.
And then you'll slowly be able to understand this.
Yeah.
Okay? So we'll do the concluding mandala offering and dedication prayer. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Share the soul do room, share. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well. With whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the three times, I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness, all-powerful Avalokiteshvara Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, upholder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional wisdom and perseverance.